All right, guys, we're going to be reacting to a video made about a year ago by Ashcon Esports. It's titled How a Tournament Tried to Stop the Greatest Gamer of All Time, obviously referring to Flash. We'll leave the link in the description if you guys want to check out this video. I wanted to add some of my own commentary to this since I got to be part of this. Let's just get the intro going here first. Got to be part of this piece of history.
Throughout the history of esports, there have been a few players that have transcended their respective games and become legends. From Daigo Umehara to Faker.
Oh, I think he's in the bed. Oh, Faker may be in trouble here. Deathmark tries to clean it up for Ryu. Oh, look at the cleanse, look at the moves! Faker, what was that?
These players are often considered final bosses, and their competitors will do whatever it takes to beat them on their way to becoming champions. While it makes sense for players to do whatever it takes to win against the best of the best, what happens when tournament organizers start doing the same?
By the way, this image of the guy, that's the tournament organizer playing the evil tune here. Those two videos, by the way, are so crazy, man. What Faker did back there, and also Daigo. What is that called? Is that called Moment 37? It's one of the craziest things ever. Although I guess apparently in Japan, that move that he did was happening in arcades all the time. It wasn't that crazy, which goes to show you how ahead Japan was compared to NA and Street Fighter Third Strike.
Practically unheard of, it has happened before. This is the tale of Afreeca TV StarCraft League, and StarCraft's final boss, Lee Young-ho, better known as Flash.
The man, the greatest gamer of all time across all games, Flash.
So it should go without saying for people that are watching, you know, everybody knows how good Flash was, but for some people that are from StarCraft 2, I think they don't truly know, or from other esports, there really isn't any other player in a game that's come close. To the point where even for me, as someone who casts StarCraft, there are periods where I really would like to see Flash lose or get knocked out, just because I think it would make the game more interesting. Because he's been so insanely dominant.
So who is Flash? For those unfamiliar, Flash is widely considered the greatest StarCraft player of all time.
By the way, these player intros, I mean, I think GSL and ASL, they've done a good job at times, but the old on GameNet player intros are some of the best esports produced things of all time. That's actually another video I might want to react to. I get chills looking back at those videos.
So who is Flash? For those unfamiliar, Flash is widely considered the greatest StarCraft player of all time, and to some, even the best pro player of all time. While we could make an entire video dedicated to discussing the feats and accomplishments of Flash, and we might, let's go over some of the highlights. Similar to a fighting game, in StarCraft, players pick the race that they will play before the match, out of Terran, Protoss, and the Zerg. Each of these three play very distinctively, and sometimes take years to master in a competitive setting, so historically most pro players stick to just playing one race throughout their whole career. Flash is a Terran player, and holds the record for the longest win streak for both Terran vs. Terran and Terran vs. Protoss at 22 and 13 wins respectively.
Which is insane. That's crazy. I mean, if you can get, you know, into, you know, S rank and win that many games in a row, let alone against one specific race, that's wild. The idea that you're playing against the best players in the whole world, who are playing as much as you are, who are labbing out as many different things, who could cheese you. You know, cheese is a thing. StarCraft is a game of incomplete information. You can end up with a build order disadvantage. It goes to show you how good Flash is, not just at understanding the opponent he's up against, but also the map that he's playing on. He understands probability extremely well, so that he's very oftentimes in a good position within the first few minutes. But that record is crazy.
In fact, he's the only professional player in history to hold a higher than 70% win rate in all of his matchups.
Which is, again, also totally wild. Every once in a while, we'll get somebody in the 70 percentile, and it's a total freak anomaly. But the idea that you would be that consistently good, nearly 3 out of 4 games you play in any race you win, which basically means you always win a best of 5 against whoever you're against. You will always win a best of 5. It's wild.
He not only pretty much won everything, he dominated. With such an absurd win rate, Flash's trophy case was equally as impressive. The peak of his winnings was in 2010. In that year, Flash made the finals of 7 tournaments, winning 4 of them. Among those wins included a dual Star League win, winning the Korean Air OSL Season 2, and Big File MSL. This made Flash only the 2nd player in history to win 2 separate leagues at the same time.
I remember watching that with my brother. We shared a bedroom. Well, we shared an attic, actually, when we were in middle school and high school. And, yeah, we'd be up late. If we could watch live, I don't think we watched live in middle school. I don't think the tech was there yet, but I think we would download the VODs and stay up late and watch them. But I remember watching that and just being like, damn, this is wild. And also just thinking, I think he's younger than me, which also kind of blew me away. You know, I started at a very young age, right? Probably like a lot of you guys did, but just seeing this guy come out who was so good, and everybody was saying he was really good on TL, but, you know, sometimes there's, I don't know, maybe overhype on TL, but yeah, I mean, he was crazy good. Do we have DSL or dial-up back then? We had dial-up originally, and somewhere in there we got DSL. Or I think we got something called Roadrunner, was the provider. I think it was cable. At some point in time in there, we had internet for, good enough internet for my mom, my brother, and me, because it became an issue. We were all using the internet at the same time.
Along with carrying KT Rolster to 2 Pro League victories and winning that year's World Cyber Games, Flash's absolute dominance of 2010 earned him the Bonjour label by the community, a term that was only given to 4 other players for sidimilar repeated dominance.
So yeah, the Bonjour thing. This was a meme that Dan and me were joking about in StarCraft 2, because people kept trying to figure out who's a Bonjour. We didn't have one yet early on. The first season or 2, people were already trying to do this. So Bonjours, Slayer's Boxer, very early era StarCraft. There was basically 2 eras before Slayer's Boxer. There was like the battlereports.com era, which is, we should probably dig through some old battle reports. That was pre-replays. These are the guys that really kind of figured it out. But, you know, it was, compared to what people are doing today, it was like people banging rocks together. But it's still impressive stuff when you consider what people were going for. Second generation would be the likes of like XDS Gur or Guillaume Patry. If you're hardcore, you know who that is. But people in that era, I think there was still some ambiguity about who was better, Koreans or foreigners. There were actually plenty of good foreigners that were playing, that were going to Korea early on. And then Slayer's Boxer came in just shortly after that. Great player. I love OOV. I got to watch this guy play in person at WCG Italy. That was my 2nd ever international gig. I was in Singapore the year before that. Very nice guy. It was a really cool moment in my life because it was like me and 3 other people working the event. I got to sit there and watch him play and practice for like 3 hours. And just getting to sit and watch a pro play, especially if you've never seen a pro play, you know, all you could do at the time was watch replays or watch some, you know, like a VOD, you know, a Korean VOD where you didn't know what the casters were saying or anything like that. Very cool. Savior, obviously infamous cheater. I got to hang out with him several times at BlizzCons and the Blizzard Worldwide Invitational, which was basically like European BlizzCon before they axed that a long time ago, pre-StarCraft 2. Very friendly guy. Shocking to see I mean, you know, the match fixing. I was just blown away like everybody else. Actually, still probably one of the best players, which makes it even more fucked up. Because, you know, I mean, maybe there was match throwing involving him winning, but it looked like when he was playing, he just was that good. And then, of course, Nada. All-around good guy. I haven't really gotten time to hang out with him that much. Like, we know each other. We'll bow to each other when we're, you know, I'm working an event and he's playing. But again, a god. Kind of post-Slayer's Boxer era came out with much more robust Terran. And this is also, it does seem like this happens in RTS where it's easier to have these eras of pure dominance, you know, within the first 5 to 7 years of a game. And then it gets a little bit more competitive, a little bit harder for anybody to fully come out on top. Although we have seen in StarCraft 2, you know, players like Cyril come out and just kill everybody.
In StarCraft. However, by that time, the use of Bonjour had become somewhat outdated, and so Flash was referred to by a much simpler title, God. Unfortunately, shortly after his tear in 2010, Flash's time with Brood Wars would come to an end for the time being. While he was able to compete fine at the start of 2011, Flash eventually revealed that he had a repetitive strain injury in his wrist that required surgery. With the
it's fucking okay. They're actually glad they got a shot of this. I'm gonna get demonetized on YouTube for cursing so much. Crazy. This is the scar. This is the surgery he had to have. Inflamed tendons all the way up. All the way up through there. Yeah, couldn't play for a while. Hey, thank you for the what is that called? The super like? Thank you so much, Mr. DZ. Appreciate the support. Yeah, he had to have a crazy surgery. Put him out of commission for a while. No, it wasn't localized, just the wrist. If you have a wrist injury, usually it travels all the way up into the shoulder, sometimes even to parts of the trapezius muscle. No, wait, is this a trap? These are traps, right? These muscles? And these are triceps. Look at me, I know all the body parts. Okay.
Time needed to recover, Flash would miss most of the few remaining Brood Wars tournaments as StarCraft 2 began to take over. And while he would compete—
Travels through the tricep into the trapezius. I don't know.
In the sequel for 3 years, he never saw the same level of success as he would in Brood Wars.
That's true. I kind of talked over this part. Sorry. He's talking about how he went to StarCraft 2, didn't seem the same kind of success. He did win a major international tournament and did perform extremely well. You know, oftentimes, I would put him in like, you know, maybe top 6 at times. Looking like he might be the best. It would have been so much better had Kespa not locked up all the players. He wanted to play StarCraft 2 from what I understand earlier, but wasn't allowed to by the Kespa teams. But really exciting to see him come on. Not just him, but all the Kespa players that got to switch over to StarCraft 2 later on. They wiped out the guys that were dominant pre that.
And eventually announced his retirement on December 1st, 2015. In the end, Flash's retirement would be short-lived, as just 2 months later, Afreeca TV announced that Flash would begin streaming StarCraft Brood Wars once again.
So this is around the era when, keep in mind, streaming basically started around StarCraft 2, but it wasn't monetized properly. And I want to say, I'm sure Afreeca TV paid him. I can't confirm that. I don't actually know, but that was when people started figuring out how to get people to donate, to support you. And yeah, streaming really changed the game. And to be honest, streaming saved StarCraft 1 in a lot of ways more than anything else, because it allowed people that were fans to just directly support the players.
His official return to competitive Brood Wars came on June 10th, when Flash took part in the 2016 Sino-Korean Carnival, an invitational tournament that saw the best Korean and Chinese players face off against each other. Flash would end up winning the tournament, beating Bisu 3-2 in the finals. While this was technically his return after retirement, the next event would be his full return to offline tournaments. During the first season of the Afreeca TV Star League, Flash was able to escape an incredibly difficult group stage 2-1, but his return to offline competition was cut short, after being eliminated in the quarterfinals, losing 3-0 to Last. Despite a disappointing result at this particular tournament—
This was in the era of KSL. This was not a KSL tournament, but Last was really dominant during the period of KSL. He still plays, but he just makes YouTube content now. I think he's literally the biggest StarCraft YouTube content creator in the entire world, even though it's just Korean language. I think number 2 is Firebat Hero.
Flash would get back into his groove, and went on to remind the world why he got the nickname God. In the next 3 ASLs, Flash won back to back to back. On this streak, Flash was looking to become the first player to win 4 seasons of the same Premier tournament. And at ASL Season 5, Afreeca TV was looking to make things interesting, with a clear goal in mind: prevent Flash from winning a 4th straight title. While Afreeca TV couldn't directly affect the outcome of the matches, they could make life harder for a Terran player through the one thing they had control over.
And this has been something that TOs have tinkered with for a while, is if some race does seem to be too strong, maybe we need to alter the maps. Altering maps is, you know, one of the great advantages about an RTS is that you can, you know, open up the hood and kind of tinker around with some of the nuanced small features on the map and change some things around and see if you can get different results. Keep in mind the very early games of StarCraft. I mean, nobody knew this game was going to be the biggest, longest-lasting esport. So making adjustments on maps and trying to adapt and improve the meta is essential. But definitely, yeah, I mean, if a Terran wins that many times, would you try to make the maps maybe not as good for the Terran? Sure, yeah, absolutely.
The map pool. And so when Afreeca TV revealed the map pool consisting of Gladiator, Sparkle,
he pops out,
title.
The guy pops out of on the right. I didn't notice that before.
The map pool. So when Afreeca TV revealed the map pool consisting of Gladiator, Sparkle, Transistor, and Third World, many in the community noticed that these specific maps put a Terran player at a disadvantage. Now, Flash is not your average Terran player, and when he saw this, he welcomed the challenge. In an interview with Team Liquid prior to the season, Flash spoke on the map pool. Quote, "I think the road ahead will be quite tough. However, this has only reinvigorated me. To be honest, winning the last 3 ASLs had drained me of motivation to some extent. After seeing the maps, I surmised that this is how far they must go to stop me. I am extra motivated to show that it is not enough. I am working hard on cracking those maps. It will be tough." Once ASL Season 5 began, fans would have to wait some time to actually see Flash in action, as he had already qualified for the top 16 thanks to his win in Season 4. Instead, during this wait, fans witnessed firsthand how tough the maps would be, during the round of 24, which featured 7 other Terran players. As expected,
I remember this game specifically. This was where we saw, for the first time for me, a Reaver bust on the low ground, this type of cheese, which, by the way, extremely strong on this map. Very hard for the Terran to get over here and deny this area.
The disadvantage made by the map pool was great. Out of the 12 players that qualified, there were 6 Protoss players, 5 Zerg players, and just a single Terran player. Despite things looking tough for Terrans heading into the round of 16, Flash was still considered the favorite to win it all. And Flash, for his part, did not disappoint, taking out the other surviving Terran player, Mind, and the Zerg player, Shine, on his way to qualifying for the quarterfinals. But what waited for him out of group stages was another obstacle. In one of the hardest map pools for Terrans, Flash's opponent in the quarterfinals was Snow, someone that many consider the best Protoss versus Terran player at the time.
I think of all time, to be honest.
Anyone else, this was an impossible task. But fortunately, Flash was no slouch at the matchup himself. In fact, at that point, Flash had not lost to a Protoss player in a best-of-5 series in 11 years. All of this history
okay, I know I'm just, at this point in time in the video, just repeating what he's saying, but had not lost a best-of-5 versus Protoss in 11 years. That's almost as long as StarCraft 2 has been out.
Line, the 2 players did not disappoint.
This was one of my favorite best-of-5 series of all time. Of all time. So fun. So fun to cast. So exciting to watch history get made.
In the end, Snow was the better player that day, and after an amazing 5-game finish, Flash would lose to Snow 2-3. Snow ended up becoming the history maker himself, by ending Flash's 11-year streak against Protoss, while delaying Flash's own history-making accomplishments by at least another tournament. While Flash wasn't able to overcome the overwhelming odds on that day, his push for the 4th title didn't end there. Ultimately, it would take a couple of seasons before Flash finally got his 4th ASL title. In ASL Season 8, Flash dropped only 2 maps the whole season, and won the title with a revenge 4-0 victory over Snow in the finals. Altogether, this made for a very unique situation for a pro player, and there may never be another situation like this in esports again. A player who was simply so dominant that the tournament organizers felt like they had to step in and make things harder for just that one player. Today, fans are still patiently waiting for the end of Flash's military service, to see his return to competitive StarCraft. But it's hard to say if we will be able to see Flash compete once again with the lingering issues with his wrist. Even if we never see Flash in a competitive match again, his status as the GOAT will be impossible to dispute, considering the insurmountable odds that it takes to beat him in a series.
It's fun to look back on that period of time. Again, one of my favorite series ever, the best-of-5 with Flash versus Snow. I thought Snow played so well, and I thought it was also a moment where we got to see Snow show just how deeply he understood the matchup in so many different ways, using so many different types of techs and play styles, cheeses and solid macro play. And I think to this day, he's basically still the best PvT all around. If you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe to the video. Leave a comment in the comment section. I'll be reacting to more StarCraft Brood War history on this channel, as well as putting other StarCraft and RTS esports related content out. I'm trying to make a video every day. So thank you so much for joining me for that little trip down memory lane. And have a good day. I'll see you in a future video. Bye-bye. Oh, and go to tastelessthreads.com, my merch site. They got a lot of cool shirts. This is not one of them. I forgot to put it on, but we got a lot of cool esports and RTS related shirts. Now you can go. Bye-bye.